Xbox has taken on the US of A. When are we getting PS Plus on Xbox? This accessory will let you use any controller with your Xbox console, and I'm talking about any controller. Here's what to expect from Xbox at the Game Awards. Let's discuss. If you want to make sure that you're Xbox ready this holiday season, I have links down in the description below with all sorts of stuff down there. Consoles, controllers, headsets, TVs, washing machines. What's up guys, and welcome back to another edition of Xbox Ready. I am so close to 100,000 subscribers, and it would be the best Christmas present of all if I can hit that 100K mark before the year ends. If you like my videos, if you watch them, but are for whatever reason not subscribed to the channel, I would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button, maybe ring the bell so you get notified whenever I post a video. As per usual, I've gathered up a number of stories from around the video game industry to share with you so you can be Xbox ready. First up, let's talk about Black Friday. Now, Black Friday, and that's already happened. That's old news, man. Well, according to this holiday shopping trends report published by Adobe, the Xbox Series X was one of 5 hot items for this Black Friday. The other 4 products included stuff from Bluey, which I guess is a children's TV show, drones, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, and MacBooks. And at first it's like, oh, good news for Xbox. The Xbox Series X sold very well during Black Friday. The problem is it's like, I don't know quite how they define a hot product. Obviously, a lot of Nintendo Switches were sold, a lot of PlayStation 5s were sold, so what makes the Xbox Series X a hot product and not those guys? I also don't know how they get their numbers for this report. Apparently, they analyze trillions of retail website visits, and that's how they come up with their evaluation. But again, it's like, okay, that's a cool bit of news. It's a cool headline if you're an Xbox fan, but I'm not sure how we got there. I feel like we skipped some steps, but thanks to VG Charts, we have more concrete numbers regarding Xbox Series X and S hardware sales on the week of November 13th through the 19th. Sales are up over 61% with the Xbox Series X and S compared to this time last year. For this week in November, the Xbox Series X and S sold 406,373 units to bring their lifetime sales to 18.66 million units. Of course, the Xbox Series X and S are lagging behind PlayStation and the Nintendo Switch when it comes to sales. But when you look at the gap between Xbox Series X and S versus the PlayStation 5 globally, it's not as wide as you might expect. The PlayStation 5 during this week outsold Xbox Series X and S by just about 28,000 units, and their lifetime units sit at about 26 million. But again, overall sales seem to be pretty decent for Xbox. We've heard that these are the fastest selling Xbox consoles compared to other generations, and it's coming during a time where people are constantly telling me Xbox got no games, they have nothing, Xbox has nothing. Well, apparently they have something because people keep buying them. I would definitely be interested to see how well the Series S sold over the past couple of weeks. We saw a number of huge discounts on the Xbox Series S for Black Friday. There are people selling it for as low as like $200 on Cyber Monday. Hopefully Xbox can deliver on these investments that people are making into the ecosystem by giving them some really awesome titles to play next year, like Starfield, Redfall, Forza Motorsport 8, maybe some really cool Day 1 editions on Game Pass from third-party developers. Hopefully they ship Arc 2 on time. Maybe Stalker 2 is going to make an appearance. But yeah, they're selling the units, now they got to deliver on the games. Next up, we got to talk about this really cool accessory that lets you use any controller with your Xbox console. I'm talking about the Wingman XB2 from Brook. Now, this is the second iteration of their Wingman XB adapter, and with this new iteration, they promise that you'll be able to use over 125 different controllers with your Xbox console. According to Pure Xbox, they say although the vast majority of compatible controllers must be used wired with a Wingman adapter, the new Wingman XB2 has widened its wireless capabilities. Now you can use a Nintendo Switch Pro controller, DualShock 3 and 4, DualSense, Xbox One Bluetooth controller, and the Xbox Elite Series 2 controller wirelessly on Xbox 360, Xbox One, and on the Xbox Series X and S. The only time you're going to have to use a wired USB adapter with this thing is on the original Xbox console. So yeah, if you have multiple platforms, if you have an Xbox, a PlayStation, a Switch, with this thing, you suddenly have double the options when it comes to controllers on your Xbox. If for whatever reason you don't like this new Xbox Series controller, you can go, hey, I want to use my DualSense or my DualShock or my Nintendo Switch Pro controller, whatever I want, really. And from my understanding, if it doesn't work wirelessly, you can have it plugged into the USB adapter and have a wired connection. The Wingman XB 2 is set to be released on November 30th. The previous version of this adapter is on Amazon, so I wouldn't be surprised if it popped up there. It's being listed in this article as $50, which for an adapter sounds kind of crazy, but then you realize, oh, this adapter lets me use pretty much any controller I want with my Xbox console. You'll be saving money on buying new controllers. That's a pretty sweet deal. Next up, let's talk about the Activision Blizzard acquisition. Week after week, we hear some new juicy detail, some new headline coming out of the review of this deal. And Thanksgiving weekend was no different. Xbox is in the middle of a process of trying to get approval for this acquisition of Activision Blizzard. And in order to make themselves look better in the eyes of these regulators, PlayStation and Xbox are adopting this really bizarre tactic where they're downplaying themselves at every turn. Xbox is like, well, we're third when it comes to console gaming. Game Pass isn't really all that great. And then PlayStation is like, no, Game Pass is amazing. PS Plus isn't that great. And, you know, our position as the market leader is kind of exaggerated, blah, blah, blah. It's really bizarre. Along that line of thinking, Xbox came out with a report saying that they missed their subscriber goal for Xbox Game Pass by 10 million subs. They also said that Game Pass only accounts for 5% of global gaming subscription services. They're like, yeah, Xbox Game Pass is not really a big deal, so if we were to put games like Call of Duty on there, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. And then PlayStation came out and said, wait, Xbox Game Pass has like 29 million subscribers, which is definitely more than the last number we heard from Xbox. And they even went on to say that PS Plus is lagging significantly behind Game Pass. So it's like, okay, they're kind of like self-owning themselves and praising their competitor service. They then said in another report that they were like, oh, we even tried in order to kind of be in the spirit of Kumbaya and exclusives are bad situation. We even offered to bring PlayStation Plus to Xbox consoles, but Microsoft denied us. I don't know to what extent they were going to bring PlayStation Plus to Xbox consoles. I find it hard to believe that PlayStation, the guys who were putting on this weird, wacky tax for developers that wanted to have true console crossplay with games like Rocket League, with games like Fortnite, these guys have been difficult at every turn when it comes to their products being on other services, even PC. Like, they just started getting their games over onto the PC side. This is very similar to reports that we heard a couple of months ago where Xbox claimed that they offered to put Game Pass on PlayStation consoles, but Sony said, boo, no, I don't want that. And then out of nowhere, seemingly, Activision came out and they were like, well, we have concerns about the Game Pass subscription service model and what it means to gaming. It could potentially dilute games, and we would not want our games on a service like Game Pass unless this acquisition goes through. I'm like, what did you approach Microsoft in the first place for? And like, what are you talking about diluting the quality of games? Like, you are diluting the quality of your own games, Activision Blizzard. Like, Game Pass has nothing to do with that. All this was happening, and then reports came out that Xbox and Microsoft, they're willing to offer some concessions if it means getting this deal to be approved. One of the concessions is this deal that we heard about last week where Xbox offered Call of Duty on PlayStation consoles for at least the next 10 years. According to someone with knowledge of the subject, ultimately such a move could secure an early clearance with the European Commission and subsequently be used by the parties before other antitrust agencies. However, it remains to be seen whether the active complainants will validate such concessions and if behavioral remedies will also be accepted by the CMA and the FTC. But apparently all of that might not even matter, concessions or not, pinky promises or not, because according to media outlets, they're reporting that the FTC is considering filing an antitrust lawsuit to prevent this deal from going through. This came over the same weekend that Bloomberg published an article saying that it's a long shot that this deal gets approved by the FTC. And apparently the Biden administration hates this deal. Now, I'm not going to say anything more because this is a channel about video games, not politics. Now, guys, I mean, I think it'd be cool if this deal was approved, if it went through. I really feel that Activision Blizzard could benefit immensely with a change of leadership, with Microsoft at the helm. I also think it'd be really cool to see all their titles, all their IPs being widely available to people all over the world using Xbox Game Pass and cloud gaming. Part of Sony's whole concern, and they said this at the very beginning of this deal, they said essentially we're worried that if Microsoft makes Call of Duty exclusive to Xbox, that'll affect consumers' decisions on whether or not they want to buy PlayStation or Xbox. They say something like that, but right now they're in the middle of a victory lap over on PlayStation side with God of War Ragnarok. skyrocket. They're like, oh my gosh, this is the fastest selling PlayStation title ever. It's selling like hotcakes. The critics love it. The people love it. Oh yeah, and you can only play it on PlayStation. They know that exclusives drive people to buy certain platforms. That's Nintendo's whole thing. People buy the Nintendo Switch to play first-party games, Animal Crossing, any Mario game, Zelda, Xenoblade Chronicles, all of that stuff. And Sony knows that. Sony knows that, man. And if this deal, for whatever reason, does not go through, I feel like people are going to heavily scrutinize Sony with whatever they do in the future. Like if Bungie comes out with an exclusive title for PlayStation, people are going to be like, dude, what the hell? You were just complaining about Microsoft buying a publisher that was previously making multi-platform games, and now you have this exclusive from Bungie. What's going on? Well, everything that's going on both PlayStation and Xbox can be traced back in some way to this acquisition of Activision Blizzard. For example, take the Game Awards. The Game Awards, it's right around the corner, guys. It is a night in video games where we take a moment and recognize the efforts of these developers, these writers, these actors, and their contributions to the video game industry. And in the past, it's been a good opportunity for developers and platform holders to show off games that they have coming up. So a lot of people were looking at Xbox and they were thinking, okay, is Xbox going to make some announcements, show off some trailers maybe? Are we going to get an Avowed update? Are we going to get an update on Fable? Are we going to get release dates for Starfield or Redfall? Well, according to Jez Corden on his podcast that he does with Randall Thor, Xbox 2, we got to temper our expectations. And according to what he's heard, Xbox may be holding off on showing anything because of the Activision Blizzard review process. As I mentioned earlier, Xbox and PlayStation, they're trying to downplay themselves. So having this big blowout showcase or announcements, that's not really a good look. This is very similar to rumors that we've been hearing about why Sony has delayed their PlayStation showcase this year. Because again, they're like, oh, PlayStation, we don't really have too much going on. It's hard to make the case that buying a publisher and making their titles exclusives is bad, and then have a showcase where you're like, here's all the games that you can only play on PlayStation. Even if Xbox doesn't announce anything or show off anything at the Game Awards, I highly recommend that you check it out because other people might be showing off stuff. And on top of that, me and Jimmy are actually going to be at the Game Awards at the Microsoft Theater. And that is just crazy, guys. Last year, 2021, I was working as a cashier. And fast forward to the end of 2022, me and Jimmy are being invited to the Game Awards. And I know it sounds corny, I know it sounds cheesy, but I would not be getting an opportunity like that if it wasn't for all of you guys. So thank you all who watch my videos, who subscribe to my channel, who tune into my Twitch streams, who follow me on Twitter, who reach out to me on Xbox Live and say, hey man, I love your videos. Again, beyond grateful. And if you want to check out the Game Awards for yourself, it's going down December 8th at 4:30 Pacific time. Pretty much everyone has a stream of the show, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, IGN. And I think I saw on their website for the Game Awards that Oculus is going to have a thing as well, so maybe like a VR Game Awards experience, who knows. According to legal documents submitted as part of this Activision Blizzard situation review process, apparently all people involved agree that we're not going to see a new Xbox or PlayStation until 2027 or 2028. Now, if that is referring to like a PS6 or whatever the hell Xbox is going to be named in the next generation, that's pretty reasonable. I feel like 8 years, these consoles launch in 2020. 8 years seems to be the standard length of a console generation so far. But if they're talking like, oh, we're not going to have even a mid-gen console refresh until 2027, 2028, that's pretty shocking. Especially when we just heard news that there was dev kits out there from the mid-gen PlayStation and the mid-gen Xbox. On one end, that might be kind of disappointing because it's like, oh, this console generation, it's going to go on forever. When is it ever going to end? On the other end, though, we haven't even really fully tapped into these consoles that we have right now, the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5. Pretty much everything up until this point on either consoles have been cross-generational titles. If you've been struggling to get either a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X, this might be kind of encouraging to you because it's like, okay, well, I've gone the last 2 years and I haven't had the latest Xbox. At the very least, I'm going to have some time, at least until 2027, 2028 to get one. Considering all the crazy stuff that's been going on in the world, global inflation, prices being hiked on both consoles, maybe putting off any new hardware is kind of a good idea. But I know me personally, I was super excited to see whatever pro version of the Xbox they were going to put out at like the 2024, 2025 mark. But it seems like if we were to take these reports at face value, that we might not even see that until 2027, 2028. And it's also interesting to think, like, what is that new Xbox gonna look like? You know, are we gonna see Xbox take the angle of like, oh, we're making the most powerful console like they did with the Xbox Series X? Or are they gonna look at the Series S or even Nintendo and be like, okay, we shipped a product that wasn't as powerful graphically, but it's selling very well. Should we pursue that versus like having the biggest, best console ever? I know a lot of people aren't gonna wanna hear that probably. The Series S has been getting a lot of hate. People are saying, oh, it's holding back gaming. And even if you look at Nintendo, Pokemon Violet just came out and it does not look or run very well on the Switch. But with the success of the Xbox Series S, with cloud gaming growing, I'm wondering if that's gonna have any impact at all on Xbox's future plans. Anyways, guys, that's all the news I have for today. Thanks so much for joining me, and we'll see you next time.